Here we are. Here we are. About an hour and 25, an hour 30 out from, you could tell by the title, the biggest Knicks game in my lifetime. And I guarantee the majority of people who are watching this, your lifetime as well. Yeah. I mean, I've been a wreck. The last 5 or 6 hours, I think it's finally started to hit me that this game is happening and it's very close. And, it's only a few blocks away. I went on a walk about an hour ago just to clear my mind and just to, rid some of this anxiety. And I saw people walking into the Garden in Knicks jerseys. Like, this is real. This is happening. It's close. And I just wanted to preface this whole thing. And again, I don't care how many people I get in here. It's a Friday night. I hope that I don't get so many people in here. I hope you're out doing real things with your life. Or if you're like me, you're sitting in and you're not doing anything. You're in a dark room and you're flipping out over this game. That's someone like me. I respect that. I respect both ways. Allow me just to preface this live with this, and that this is a very emotional subject for me. Obviously, as I mentioned multitude of times here, this is the biggest Knicks game in my life. But at the same time, I want to bring you some objective analysis, and it is going to be difficult to toe that line. But I'm going to do my best here. I'm going to try not to get so overly emotional. You could see the nerves are obviously flowing, and for good reason. This is a massive game, and it's as must-win of a game that the Knicks have had in 25 years, since the last time they advanced to the conference finals. I cannot remember the last time in my life where a game that the Knicks have played has had this level of magnitude. There is so much riding on this, and so much that would present itself to the Knicks after this game if they do win this game. There's a lot going on in the Western Conference, of course, with Nuggets, Thunder going to Game 7. The Pacers are awaiting whomever wins this series. We obviously know how the Knicks fared against the Pacers last year in Games 1 and 2. OG Anunoby goes down with the hamstring. They come very close to winning Game 3, and if they did win Game 3, they would have won the series because they ended up winning Game 5, and they blew the series. And for good reason. The fact that entire team was injured, the Pacers were full strength besides Benedict Mathurin. And they haven't made that many changes since. So, knock on wood, the Knicks are fully healthy. And they go into that series, if they do win tonight, with a good chance to do something special in the playoffs this year for the first time since 1973. So here we are. Again, an hour and 30 minutes away from this massive game. And I've never felt like this in my sports fandom in my life. The Yankees were in the World Series last year. The Giants won 2 Super Bowls. The Yankees won a World Series a long time ago. But if you know me, you understand that there's nothing more important to me than the Knicks. Out of all 3 of my teams, the Knicks come first. They always have and they always will. Hence the reason why I have so much anxiety going into this game. There are a bunch of things that I want to hit on. And again, if you're just joining now, I'm Bryce Gelman. And I prefaced this earlier in the fact that I'm going to try to stay objective here, not try to allow my emotions to get the best of me. I am a Knicks fan, but I also give you objective analysis. I tell it like I see it. There isn't a biased fan view to any of this. Of course, you get the Knicks fan in me. The passion comes from that. The sports talk does not. The sports talk is authentic as you are going to get on WFAN, and probably even better. Not to toot my own horn. I'm better than the guys in WFAN talking Knicks. That's a shot at you, Salicata. But I want to discuss, I'll get into my keys to the game like I normally do, but I just wanted to, kind of reflect on Game 5. And it was the first game of the series that I picked the Knicks to win. Of course, they get blown out. The Celtics lose Jason Tatum in Game 4, and I thought, okay, this is not the same team. This is a much less talented team than the Knicks without Jason Tatum, who literally carried them on his back in Game 4. So they're going to lose that player. I'm thinking, all right, the Knicks are going to clinch this in 5. They're going to go on, face the Pacers. And I think I, like plenty of other people, got way too ahead of myself. I saw a bunch of people on social media already talking about the matchups that the Knicks are going to face in the conference finals against the Pacers. And I was one of the people who was like, slow your roll. The Knicks have to get there. But I obviously had the thoughts. They were in the back of my mind. All right, the possibilities here are endless. It isn't the Celtics they'd be facing in the conference finals. It isn't the Cavs. It's the Pacers. And it's a team that the Knicks could have beat if they were at full health last year. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But losing Game 5 in the way that they lost it kind of killed my hope going forward. This Knicks team historically, over the course of my lifetime, has fallen short of expectations, have not met any goals, and have been, for the large majority of it, a laughingstock in the league. And of course, over the last 5 to 6 years, the Knicks have completely transformed themselves into one of the best franchises of the NBA over the course of the last 4 years, making 3 out of 4 playoffs. So this becomes so much, the stakes become so much higher now with the raised expectations, with the fact that the Celtics have made 6 of the last 8 conference finals, with the fact that the Celtics just blew out the Knicks without Jason Tatum. The stakes are as high as, again, any game that I have ever witnessed or will ever witness. I mean, not to say, listen, obviously things could change and the Knicks could be good going forward, but as of right now, it's the biggest game and the biggest stakes of any game for the Knicks that I've ever watched. Even more so than Game 5. The Knicks still were playing with house money. Yes, it would have been huge if they won that game, but they had a 3-1 lead. So that would be one of 3 games that they'd have to close this series out. This one's at the Garden. And if you know sports, if you understand how this stuff works and the championship credentials that the majority of the Celtics team have, you do not want to go back to TD Garden for a Game 7. The Knicks, I've said it time and time again, do not have much of a home court advantage at Madison Square Garden. Still, the Knicks have 2 games to finish this out. They've got the entire city behind them. In Game 4, no one besides Jason Tatum and a little bit of Derek White stepped up. No one. And now that the Celtics do not have Jason Tatum, and they showed their ability to move the ball, to get shooters open, to get to the paint without Jason Tatum. Honestly, that was the best the Celtics have played the entire series. It was probably the best they played. Collectively. 1 through 8 guys in that lineup. And this is the Celtics team the Knicks will face tonight. A team that employs some of the most clutch players in the NBA. A guy in Derek White who, for whatever reason, this guy is so good. I mean, if you look at the advanced stats, Derek White has a true shooting percentage in the series of 66%. 66.6%. That's how good he has been this series. An effective field goal percentage of .616. This guy is unbelievable. He kills the Knicks. And he's amazing defensively as well. He's shooting 42% from 3 this series. In 40 minutes a game, 22.6 points per game. I'm going to get into my keys to the game. I'm going to talk to you about how important and essential it is for the Knicks to stop Derek White. But what he did in Game 5 was unbelievable. The fact that the Knicks did not guard him in the majority of possessions where he caught these open looks, I could not for the life of me understand. And there were a multitude of things in Game 5 that I still don't understand. And I like to see differently in Game 6 tonight. Screw it. I'm going to get into my keys to the game. I've talked about Game 5 enough. There's no need to dwell on it. The Knicks have turned the page and have set their sights to Game 6 and forgotten Game 5. Well, hopefully not all of it, but have set their sights to Game 6 now. And my major key to the game, and it's bigger than it sounds. It doesn't just encompass one area of basketball. It encompasses every corner of the 94 feet of the court. It covers both sides of the ball. It covers the front court. It covers the back court. And it's the fact that Tom Thibodeau needs to not be rigid for once in his coaching career. That for once, there needs to be major adjustments to win a game. What we saw in Game 5 is what we've seen from Tom Thibodeau over the course of his Knicks coaching career. It's the indecisiveness and the delusional mindset where the easiest changes, the easiest adjustments are not made because that's just who he is. And there cannot be a circumstance tonight where things don't change just because Tom Thibodeau is who he is. there needs to be changes, specifically on the defensive end. I'm going to get to the offensive part, but on the defensive end, the Knicks need to defend the three-point shot better. For whatever reason, with Derek White hitting 5 of his first 5 shots, hitting 4 of his first 4 threes, there still was not a Knick face guarding him throughout the course of that first half. I do not understand. I mean, like you see it in AAU basketball, you see it in high school basketball, even middle school basketball. When there's a player on the court that can't miss, the other team will put its best defender on him 94 feet and make sure that even when there's a drive and the entire defense collapses, that one player will not leave that player. And even when there's a screen set, they'll fight over that screen. And if there has to be a switch, there's a switch. But you're comfortable with the on-ball, like you're comfortable with Derek White catching the ball, having a guy right up in his face, even with the switch, because he is not as good, obviously, at creating his own shot than catching the ball and sneaking, to an open spot in the court, catching it and shooting it. That is not in his game. He's not a shot creator. Leave that to Jaylen Brown. Leave that to Peyton Pritchard. Derek White's not that guy. He's one of the best catch and shoot three-point shooters in the league, objectively. And in the series, he has crushed the Knicks. I think if the Knicks want to win this game, they have to limit Derek White. You got to allow other players to beat you. You cannot allow Derek White to start this game 4 for 4 from 3. That cannot happen again. If you want any chance to win the series, Derek White cannot have a good game. You need to make it extremely uncomfortable for him. When he catches the ball, someone's got to be right up in his grill and has to prevent him from getting easy open looks. You'll live with the open dunk down below on a pick and roll because you have to make sure that Derek White does not get open looks. Jaylen Brown had an amazing game in Game 5. He rose to the occasion with Jason Tatum out. He returned to the form that he had last year when he won Finals MVP. He's one of the highest paid players in the league for a reason. He deserves it. And he, again, rose to the occasion in Game 5. If he scores 50 points and they win this game, so be it. Fine. I cannot live with Derek White being the reason why they win this game. I'm okay with Jaylen Brown beating the Knicks, but I'm not okay with Derek White beating the Knicks. Because Derek White's a role player. Jaylen Brown is not. Derek White, yes, he's one of the best, if not the best role player in the NBA. He consistently rises to the occasion. He consistently hits big shots when they need to be hit. He's got the clutch gene maybe more than anyone else on that team. So, you can't let him beat you. You cannot let Derek White catch an open look from 3 every single time down the court. Every time there's a transition, fast break, Derek White cannot be trailing behind and get an open shot. I don't care who it has to be. I don't care if it's Mikal Bridges. I don't care if you have to play Deuce McBride 25 minutes tonight just to guard Derek White. It's got to be done. No questions asked. You cannot let Derek White win this game for the Celtics. You can't. You look at the rest of this team, and you look at what Luke Cornett, Knicks legend, did in Game 5. That cannot happen as well. We got Witit. I'm not even trying to pronounce that. Some of you guys have crazy names. Precious Achiuwa going to drop 30. I don't even know if he's active. He's the one guy in the Knicks injury report with a sprained ankle. I assume he'll suit up. Not like he'll be needed, but hopefully he does suit up because God forbid Karl-Anthony Towns gets into foul trouble yet again. He's going to have to get some run. Even though Mitchell Robinson went 6 for 6 from the foul line last game. But it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen whether or not Precious Achiuwa will get some run in this game. But back to the keys to the game. Again, Derek White needs to be limited. Whomever is guarding him needs to make it extremely uncomfortable for him and needs to get in his face so he doesn't get those transition looks from 3. It can't happen. Number 2, and arguably just as important, Karl-Anthony Towns needs to be involved in this game. Like, you need a good game for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, what you gave up in that trade to get him aside, you need to get him involved. Like, what we've seen, and listen, this doesn't mean anything for what Karl-Anthony Towns needs to do in the series. It's just a major blemish in what he has done. But look at what Julius Randle, look at what Dante DiVincenzo just accomplished. They advanced to the conference finals. Julius Randle, Steve Kerr said, was the best player in that series. They could not stop him. They had no answer from Julius Randle. And we are seeing the complete flip side of this. Karl-Anthony Towns has done nothing. He's been terrible. I don't need to tell you the stats of what's happened. The guy is shooting 15% from 3 this series. 15%. That's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. And it's something that cannot continue. The Knicks want to win this game. I understand that the Celtics have done a great job defending him on the perimeter. And they have not let up. There have been multiple drives where, let's say, Jalen Brunson or Mikal Bridges splits the defense. The guy who's guarding Karl-Anthony Towns is never the one to come over and help. It's always the guy who's guarding Josh Hart. That's what happens when a guy on the court can't shoot the three. There's a crazy lack of spacing, and in times when you split the defense, you penetrate into the paint, the guy who was guarding him will be comfortable leaving him because Josh Hart is not a three-point shooter. So that's the other thing. Josh Hart cannot play 40 minutes in this game. He has played way too much. And it is extremely frustrating on a game-by-game basis to watch Josh Hart. I understand he was the Knicks' leading scorer in Game 5. I understand he knocked down a bunch of threes. Can you expect that long-term? Absolutely not. No, you cannot. And you'd be lying if you told me otherwise. I do not want Josh Hart playing as much. And what happens when Josh Hart plays the entire time is if you want to play Mitchell Robinson, he's not going to have the same effect on the game. Because there's going to be two players, not just one, who the defense is not going to respect from the perimeter. So you play Karl-Anthony Towns alongside those two, which we've seen in the past, even though the lineup of Mitch and Cat, which has been so effective, has been Brunson, Deuce, I guess Brunson, Mikal, OG, Cat, and Mitch. That's been the lineup. And, interchangeably with Mikal and Deuce, doesn't matter. It's been the best two-man rotation that the Knicks have had with Cat and Mitchell Robinson on the court at the same time. Because as we have learned time and time again over the course of this regular season, over the course of the postseason, Karl-Anthony Towns is not good enough on the defensive end as the center. He is not. He never will be. There's a reason why the Timberwolves gave up a boatload of picks to get Rudy Gobert. It's because they did not trust Karl-Anthony Towns as the standalone five on defense. And look what happened that next year. The Timberwolves ceiling alongside Anthony Edwards coming into his own as a top player in the league, they completely exceeded expectations. They advanced to the conference finals. And look, they're back. But Julius Randle now. Karl-Anthony Towns not only has been non-existent in this series, he's soft. Like, straight up, he's soft. Some of the balls that he caught under the basket, he went up. I mean, you're taught this at a young age. Go up strong. Draw a foul. Luke Cornett bitched him out multiple times in Game 5. Multiple times. I cannot witness that again because for a fact the Celtics are going to come out, and I'm not 100% sure about it, but I'd assume that Joe Mazzulla is going to come out with Luke Cornett and Al Horford on the floor starting because he knows how rigid Tom Thibodeau is. He knows that Tom Thibodeau is not going to come out with a lineup of Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns with Josh Hart on the bench. God forbid Mitchell Robinson plays and starts over Josh Hart. God forbid Tom Thibodeau doesn't play Josh Hart 40 minutes. I understand the effectiveness of Josh Hart. I get what he brings you intangibly. I get how good of a rebounder he is. What else does he provide? Is he as good of a defender as Mitchell Robinson? Does he allow you to play Karl-Anthony Towns at the 4? Does it allow you to not have to use Josh Hart as the ball screener on every single pick and roll action? No. That's another bone I have to pick with Tom Thibodeau. You trade your two of your most effective players from last year for Karl-Anthony Towns. Terrific. One of the best shooting big men in NBA history. Probably the best three-point shooting big man in NBA history. And you're not going to run any off-ball action for him. You're not going to set any off-ball screens. You're not going to use him in the pick and roll and the pick and pop action. When Josh Hart is the one setting the screens, the defense is always going to back up on the switch. Whether the defender, usually, this is the other thing. The Celtics do an amazing job of getting over screens. An amazing job. So Josh Hart goes out to set the screen. Either they get through it or they switch, and the guy who is defending Josh Hart now is going to go into the paint instead of having to roll, to go out to the perimeter because there's no threat of him shooting the three. So he's going to fall back. Josh Hart will catch the ball on the perimeter. He's going to look around. Some guy's going to be 15 feet away from him, and you get nothing out of that. because the defense doesn't respect Josh Hart. And Josh Hart cannot shoot the three unless it's a catch and shoot shot. Anytime he hesitates whatsoever, he misses. If you watch enough Knicks, you understand that he's not good enough to hit shots off the dribble, off the bounce. He needs to be a catch and shoot guy for him to at least shoot 35% from three. And even that is asking a lot. So I need to see more of Karl-Anthony Towns, whether it be the off-ball screens or whether he actually goes up and sets a hard screen for once. And he goes up there, does nothing. Set a hard screen. And stop committing stupid fouls in the defensive end. It's worked out for the Knicks, not playing Karl-Anthony Towns. You know, what we saw in Game 4, the lineup that really helped the Knicks pull away in that game was because Karl-Anthony Towns was in foul trouble early on in that fourth quarter. And Hart was in foul trouble as well. So the Knicks went Brunson, Deuce, OG McHale, and Mitchell Robinson. Get that? The X factor in the series played down the stretch, and guess what? The Knicks won. The Knicks won. That's the last thing I got. I mean, I've been harping on this now for a couple of weeks that, you know, and you've heard from not just Joe Mazzulla, you've heard from every single talking head, anyone who analyzes the game, any one of these Knicks Twitter accounts do an amazing job at breaking down film, that Mitchell Robinson has been the X factor in this series. Mitchell Robinson, in 16 minutes of the first half, in the last game, in Game 5, grabs 11 rebounds, six of which are offensive rebounds. And he is one of the best plus-minuses in the game. Guess what happens in the second half? He plays 7 minutes. 7 freaking minutes. Karl-Anthony Towns isn't taken out in the third quarter until there's 3 minutes and 14 seconds left. And that has a lot to do with how bad Karl-Anthony Towns was. He wasn't getting any meaningful minutes. And also has to do with the fact that he's got a massive leash when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. Same as with Josh Hart. You know, the shots aren't falling for Karl-Anthony Towns. He's not playing well defensively. Luke Cornett is dominating on the paint. And he's able to freely roam because Josh Hart is in the game. You have to switch it up. You have to generate more space. You've got to get a guy in the middle, in Mitchell Robinson, who's a lob threat, who on the defensive end will not allow Luke Cornett to grab every offensive board, who brings you every single intangible in the game. The ability to set hard screens for Jalen Brunson. You know, now with the stagger fee on the free throw, we have the possibilities are endless with Mitchell Robinson. Maybe he could become a better free throw shooter. Who knows? He went 6 for 6, and it wasn't a lucky 6 for 6. You could visibly tell the difference in his shot form. And it's something that I was taught as a kid in camp. You stagger your feet. You put your lead foot forward, and you shoot the ball. You take a breath. You relax. That is something that Mitchell Robinson has done since he came back from his injury, but the staggering of the feet, the switching of his actual form did not happen until the start of Game 5, the first time we saw him at the line. And guess what? He goes 6 for 6. So it wasn't like there was an excuse. So, hey, we don't want to play Mitch because they're going to hack him anyway. There wasn't that. Tom Thibodeau after the game said he was searching. He was searching for what? What were you searching for with keeping the exact same starting lineup in the game? What were you searching for waiting 6.5 minutes to call a timeout when the Celtics were up 15 in the quarter? What were you searching for when you called the timeout, come back out with the exact same lineup, and the first play out of that timeout is a Jalen Brunson at the end of the shot clock contested 3? What were you searching for there? It's going to be hard to answer if the Knicks lose this game tonight. Crowd's going to be crazy. I have no doubt about that. Again, as I've said a bunch of times here, and only to 7 people. I understand it's a Friday night, but I had to get my thoughts out. This is how I am. If you know me, I talk about it with my therapist all the time. It's like I can't let things sit. I like to talk about my problems. It's very difficult for me to just sit there and allow the anxiety to take over and, you know, just breathe. I like talking about things. I like talking through my problems. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. That's why these amount of viewers, I couldn't care less. Tonight, I don't know. I've mentioned this to a bunch of people that I think that my head believes that the Knicks are going to win, but my heart believes they're going to lose. All the heartbreak that I've faced as a Knicks fan, all the heartbreak all of us have faced over the last 25 years as Knicks fans, it makes it extremely difficult for us to believe that this game will be won. You know, we know the stats for Jalen Brunson in the playoffs coming off a loss. We know his point average. We know with the 9-2 record, whatever it is. I still think that this franchise just has terrible luck. It's like the Red Sox. Every time they made the postseason, they played the Yankees, they got smacked. The Bucky Dent game, Bill Buckner. How many times over the course of the 20th century did they lose close games when they thought they were going to win? It could be much of the same tonight, but the roles reversed. Or that the Knicks could finally break through. They can end this curse, the so-called curse. There isn't a main curse. The one curse they have is the Landry Shamet curse, even though it didn't happen 2 years ago. I don't know if you've seen that. Every team Landry Shamet has been on besides 2023 has lost in the 7th game of the second round of the playoffs. Hopefully that doesn't continue. Hopefully he gets a run tonight. Like, campaign has been so bad that I wouldn't hate to see Landry Shamet alongside Deuce McBride in the same lineup. Like, you need a spark. You need to be like, Tom Thibodeau has been so rigid, and there's so many defenders and apologists for Tom Thibodeau out there that cannot just admit that he is not coached perfectly in his career, that sometimes he makes mistakes, that sometimes he's a little too rigid to actually change things and help generate a spark. And I can't see that yet again tonight. We've seen it so many times in the course of the season where it's so obvious that a lineup isn't working out. This Knicks starting lineup is objectively trash. They get outscored, they get outplayed, they get out rebounded by any lineup that the Celtics throw out. It's by far the worst lineup that they've had, and I understand they've had the most volume, but it's not like these other combinations of lineups haven't gotten, 50 to 100 possessions. That's big volume. That's almost a full game, if not more. So you look at that, and you're frustrated about that. I mean, I am. I just cannot continue to watch this starting lineup play 30 minutes a game together. Tom Thibodeau's got to switch it up. He's got to play Mitchell Robinson more. We got to see more of Deuce McBride. If Deuce McBride's the guy who's going to have to be put on Derek White, terrific, amazing. Deuce McBride has played extremely well defensively in this series. And if there's one guy who could stop Derek White, if it can't be Mikal Bridges, if he's not quick enough, it's Deuce McBride. And we've seen with Deuce McBride, no matter how many minutes he plays, Tom Thibodeau will employ him as a full-court defender to whomever is playing well, if it's a guard. Derek White, they're very similar size. I'd like to see Deuce McBride play 20 to 25 minutes and be stuck on Derek White the entire game. That would be awesome. Will Tom Thibodeau actually go out of his way to do that? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. So we'll see. The Knicks game starts in 45 minutes. I have to go eat dinner. I have 7 viewers. I've gone through every single thing I could possibly go through. I need to take a deep breath. I need to decompress before this game, before I start to lose it even more. But hopefully the next time we're speaking, the Knicks are in the conference finals for the first time since 2000. And hopefully we're not previewing a Game 7 in which I have little hope for. This Knicks team is fully healthy, going up against a team who's missing a top 10 to 15 player in the NBA. There's no excuses. Tom Thibodeau cannot get out coached again by Joe Mazzulla. If he's got to go early to Mitchell Robinson, then so be it. What I'll tell you right now is that if the Knicks blow the series, Tom Thibodeau, we can kiss him goodbye. Because inaction by him messed up the – they stem from him. The Knicks got out-coached in Game 5. Let's see if they get out-coached tonight. If they do, the Knicks won't win, no matter how well Jalen Brunson plays. We can trust Jalen Brunson to do what he does best, which is come up in the clutch. But you actually have to get to that point. You've got to get to a point where Jalen Brunson can go off. It's unsustainable. I've talked about it a multitude of times. So praying to the basketball gods, praying to whomever is out there. If you're Catholic, Christian, pray to Jesus. Be my guest. Do as much praying as you possibly can. And let's fucking go Knicks. Let's go. And again, hopefully I'm talking to you after a Game 6 win and a conference finals berth for the first time in 25 years. I got nothing else. Let's go, guys. Peace.